Hello and welcome to today's episode. If you have ever started a new habit with excitement, like going to the gym, learning a language, or waking up early only to lose motivation after a few days or weeks, you are not alone. Many people believe they are lazy or lack discipline, but science tells us a different story. In this episode, we will explore why motivation disappears so quickly and what you can do to keep it longer. Let's start with a simple truth: motivation is not a constant feeling. It is not something you either have or don't have. Motivation is a biological and psychological process that changes depending on your brain, your environment, and your expectations. Inside your brain, there is a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the motivation molecule, but that name is a bit misleading. Dopamine is not just about pleasure or happiness. It is more about anticipation, the feeling that something good is coming. When you imagine a reward, your brain releases dopamine, and this gives you energy and focus to take action. This is why you feel very motivated at the beginning of something new. For example, when you decide to start exercising, you imagine yourself becoming stronger, healthier, and more confident. Your brain loves these positive images. It releases dopamine, and suddenly you feel excited and ready to work hard. However, this feeling does not last forever. Once the activity becomes routine, your brain gets used to it. The reward is no longer surprising or new. As a result, dopamine levels drop, and your motivation decreases. This is not a personal failure. It is simply how the brain works. Another important factor is something called the novelty effect. Humans are naturally attracted to new and interesting things. When you start a new project, everything feels fresh. You are learning new skills, buying new equipment, and talking about your goals with other people. All of this creates a strong sense of excitement. But after a few weeks, the novelty disappears. The gym looks the same. The language exercises feel repetitive. The early mornings feel cold and uncomfortable. Without novelty, your brain becomes less interested, and motivation fades. Again, this is normal and happens to almost everyone. There is also a psychological concept known as the expectation gap. At the beginning, we often imagine fast and dramatic results. We think, if I study English every day, I will speak fluently in 3 months, or if I go to the gym, I will see big changes in my body in just a few weeks. These expectations feel motivating at first, but they can also become dangerous. When reality does not match your expectations, you feel disappointed. Progress in real life is usually slow and sometimes invisible. You might be improving, but you cannot see it clearly yet. This gap between what you expected and what actually happens creates frustration. And frustration is one of the fastest ways to lose motivation. Let's talk about willpower, another word people often use when discussing motivation. Many people believe that successful individuals simply have more willpower than others. But research shows that willpower is limited. It works like a battery. Every time you make a difficult decision or resist a temptation, you use a bit of that battery. By the end of the day, your willpower is often low. Imagine you are trying to eat healthier. In the morning, you easily choose a healthy breakfast. At lunchtime, you avoid fast food and eat a salad. But in the evening, after a long and stressful day, you suddenly find yourself eating a large pizza. It is not because you stopped caring about your health. It is because your mental energy was already used up during the day. This is why motivation and discipline feel stronger in the morning and weaker at night. Your brain is simply tired. Understanding this can help you plan your habits more intelligently. For example, you can schedule your most important or difficult tasks earlier in the day, when your mental battery is still full. Another reason we lose motivation is that we focus too much on results and not enough on the process. When your only goal is the final reward, like losing 10 kilograms or speaking perfect English, you may feel motivated at first. But because the reward is far in the future, your brain does not get regular positive feedback. Without small, frequent rewards, your motivation system becomes quiet. Think about video games. Many games are designed to keep players motivated for hours. How do they do this? They give constant feedback. You earn points, unlock new levels, receive sounds and visual effects, and get small rewards again and again. This keeps dopamine levels active and maintains your interest. Real life often does not provide such clear and immediate feedback. If you study English for 1 hour today, you will not suddenly become fluent tomorrow. The progress is real, but it is slow and sometimes invisible. This makes it harder for your brain to stay excited about the activity. So what can we do about all this? If motivation is naturally unstable, does that mean we are powerless? Fortunately, no. Understanding how motivation works gives us tools to manage it better. One powerful strategy is to build systems instead of depending on feelings. Motivation is emotional and unpredictable, but systems are practical and stable. A system is a regular structure that helps you take action even when you do not feel like it. For example, instead of saying, "I will study English when I feel motivated," you create a system, "I will study English every day at 7 p.m. for 20 minutes. At first, this may sound boring, but systems reduce the number of decisions you need to make. Remember that willpower is limited. If you must decide every day whether or not to study, you will eventually choose the easier option. But if studying is simply part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth, you spend less mental energy deciding, and the habit becomes more automatic. Another useful technique is to make your goals smaller and more specific. Large goals like get fit or learn English are too abstract. Your brain does not know what to do with them today. Instead, you can create micro goals. For example, today I will learn 5 new English words, or today I will walk for 15 minutes. These small tasks are easier to start, and each time you complete one, you give your brain a small sense of achievement. This releases dopamine and keeps the motivation cycle active. Tracking your progress is also extremely important. Because real progress is often slow and hard to notice, you need a way to make it visible. You can use a notebook, a calendar, or a simple app. Each day you complete your task, you mark it. After a few weeks, you will see a chain of completed days. This visual proof reminds you that you are moving forward, even if the final result is still far away. Let's also discuss the role of environment. Many people think motivation comes only from inside them, but your surroundings have a huge influence on your behavior. If your environment is full of distractions and temptations, you will need much more willpower to stay focused. On the other hand, if your environment supports your goals, you will need less motivation to act. For example, if you want to read more books, placing a book on your table where you can see it makes it more likely that you will pick it up. If you want to avoid junk food, not keeping it in your house reduces the number of temptations you face. These small changes may seem simple, but they reduce the mental effort required to make good choices. Social factors also affect motivation. Humans are social creatures, and we often copy the behavior of people around us. If your friends or colleagues are active, curious, and focused on self-improvement, you are more likely to behave in the same way. On the other hand, if the people around you often complain, avoid challenges, or give up quickly, it becomes harder to stay motivated yourself. This is why study groups, language partners, or workout buddies can be so helpful. They provide not only support but also accountability. When someone else knows about your goals, you feel a stronger reason to continue, even on days when your personal motivation is low. Another interesting concept from psychology is called the identity effect. People are more likely to stay motivated when their actions are connected to their identity. In simple words, it is easier to continue a habit when you see it as part of who you are, not just something you are trying to do. For example, instead of saying, "I am trying to learn English," you can say, "I am an English learner," or even, "I am someone who studies every day." This small change in language may seem unimportant, but it tells your brain that this behavior is part of your personality. And people usually want to act in ways that match their identity. Let's now address one more common problem, the fear of failure. Many people lose motivation not because they are tired or bored, but because they are afraid of making mistakes. When progress becomes difficult, they start to doubt themselves. They think, maybe I am not talented enough, or maybe this goal is too big for me. These thoughts create anxiety, and anxiety reduces motivation. But mistakes are not a sign that you are failing. They are a sign that you are learning. In language learning, for example, making grammar errors or forgetting words is a natural and necessary part of the process. If you wait to speak until you are perfect, you will never practice enough to actually improve. Finally, it is important to accept that motivation will always come and go. Even the most successful athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs have days when they feel unmotivated. The difference is that they do not expect motivation to be constant. Instead, they rely on habits, systems, and long-term purpose to continue moving forward. You can think of motivation as a wave. Sometimes it is high and powerful, and you feel full of energy. At other times, it is low and quiet. If you only act when the wave is high, your progress will be slow and irregular. But if you build routines that keep you moving even when the wave is low, you will continue to advance over time. So, to summarize, you lose motivation quickly not because you are weak or lazy, but because your brain is designed to react strongly to novelty, rewards, and expectations. When these factors change, your feelings change too. By understanding the science behind motivation, you can stop blaming yourself and start building smarter strategies. Create small, clear goals. Build daily systems instead of depending on emotions. Track your progress so you can see your improvement. Shape your environment to support your habits. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth. And most importantly, be patient with yourself during the process. Motivation is not magic. It is a biological and psychological tool that you can learn to manage. Once you stop waiting for the perfect feeling and start building reliable structures around your goals, you will find that consistency becomes much easier. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope this explanation helps you understand your own motivation better and gives you practical ideas you can use in your daily life. If you enjoyed this topic, keep learning, stay curious, and remember that progress is often slow but always possible.